Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a journey back in time, but not to the well-trodden path of fireworks and triumphant declarations. We're stepping into the shadows of 1776 to explore a side of America's birth that often gets left out of the storybooks. We all know the famous line, "We hold these truths to be self-evident," that all men are created equal, penned by Thomas Jefferson. It's a powerful, aspirational phrase that has inspired millions around the world. But as we peel back the layers of history, we find a more complex and often contradictory reality. The very man who wrote those words about equality was an enslaver, and he wasn't alone. Many of the founding fathers, the architects of this new nation dedicated to liberty, participated in the institution of slavery. This is the central paradox of the American Revolution. How could a nation be founded on the principle of freedom while simultaneously denying it to a significant portion of its population? To understand this, we have to look at the economic and social fabric of the colonies. In the South, the economy was overwhelmingly dependent on enslaved labor, particularly on tobacco and rice plantations. This system wasn't just a part of the economy. It was the economy. The immense wealth that financed the revolution and built the new nation was, in large part, generated by the forced labor of enslaved Africans. So when the colonists cried, "No taxation without representation," and spoke of the tyranny of King George III, they were fighting for their own economic and political freedoms, while systematically upholding a far more brutal form of tyranny at home. The hypocrisy wasn't lost on everyone at the time. Voices of dissent did exist. Abolitionist movements, though small, were growing, particularly in the northern colonies where slavery was less economically entrenched. Figures like Samuel Sewall in Massachusetts had written against slavery decades before the Revolution. During the war itself, many black Americans, both enslaved and free, saw the British as a more likely path to liberation. In 1775, Lord Dunmore, the British governor of Virginia, issued a proclamation offering freedom to any enslaved person who would leave their patriot masters and fight for the crown. Thousands risked everything to answer that call, forming what was known as the Ethiopian Regiment. They fought not for American independence but for their own. Their story is a stark reminder that the fight for freedom had very different meanings for different people living in the colonies. Let's also talk about the indigenous peoples of North America. For them, the birth of the United States was not a dawn of liberty, but the beginning of an accelerated and devastating period of displacement and loss. The Declaration of Independence itself contains a grievance against King George III for inciting the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. This dehumanizing language paints a clear picture. The colonists viewed westward expansion as their right, their manifest destiny, before the term was even coined. The British, through policies like the Proclamation of 1763, had attempted to limit this expansion to avoid costly conflicts with Native American nations. For many colonists, American independence meant the freedom to seize indigenous lands without British interference. So, one group's freedom directly translated into another as subjugation and the loss of their ancestral homes. The Revolution also had a complex impact on women. While women played crucial roles, managing farms, acting as spies, and supporting the troops as camp followers, the new republic did not extend its promises of equality and representation to them. The legal framework of coverture remained in place, meaning a married woman's legal identity was absorbed by her husband. She couldn't own property, sign contracts, or vote. Abigail Adams famously wrote to her husband John, urging him to remember the ladies when crafting the new laws, warning that they would foment a rebellion if ignored. Her plea, though now famous, was largely dismissed. The Revolution solidified a political system created by and for property-owning white men, leaving women, like so many others, on the outside looking in. The freedom won was a patriarchal one. So, what does this all mean? Does it mean we should tear down the statues and dismiss the entire American experiment as a failure? Not at all. Understanding this history isn't about erasing the good, it's about seeing the whole picture. The founding ideals of the United States, liberty, equality, and the pursuit of happiness, are incredibly powerful. They were radical for their time and remain a beacon of hope. However, the story of America is not just the story of those ideals being declared, but the long, painful, and ongoing struggle to make them a reality for everyone. The untold darkness behind America's birth is the story of that struggle. It's the story of the enslaved people who fought for their own emancipation, the Native Americans who resisted dispossession, the women who demanded a voice, and all the subsequent generations who have fought to expand the definition of "we the people." The greatness of the American story lies not in a flawless beginning, but in its capacity for change and self-correction, driven by the very people who were initially excluded. The shadows are part of the landscape. Acknowledging the deep contradictions of the nation's founding doesn't weaken it. It gives us a more honest and resilient understanding of who we are, where we came from, and the work that still remains. The promise of 1776 wasn't fully delivered in 1776. It was a promissory note, and the history of the United States is the story of diverse groups of people demanding that the check be cashed. By confronting the uncomfortable truths and the darkness behind the birth of the nation, we can better appreciate the immense efforts of those who fought to broaden the scope of American freedom. We honor the ideals by recognizing the failures and celebrating the fight to overcome them. It's a messy, complicated, and sometimes painful history, but it's ours. And understanding it in its entirety is the only way to truly move forward toward that more perfect union. Thanks so much for watching today. This is a huge topic, and we've only scratched the surface. What are your thoughts on this complex part of history? Let me know down in the comments. And if you found this video thought-provoking, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. See you next time.